Hello and welcome to the weekly rundown. We just came back from Ocean City, Maryland. It was absolutely beautiful. Speaking of, Sarah joins me today.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm a graduate student, and I'm excited to talk about the National Guard in Maryland today.
Yeah, it should be an interesting topic to talk about. There's, especially since we were just there, uh, it's a little bit shocking that they are, well, we'll get back to it. We'll get back to what we have to talk about the National Guard. But would you like to talk a little bit about our little trip? Would you, like to share a little bit about what we did and how
Sure.
it was?
We went to Ocean City in Maryland, and it was really, really pretty, honestly. We went to the beach, we went parasailing, got to see a couple stingrays when we went parasailing.
Oh yeah, the stingrays were awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It was really cool to see them flapping their majestic ass wings in the freaking beach or in the water while we were just like 300, 400 feet above them. It was awesome.
Yeah, and we got to see everything around our Airbnb and go kayaking at our Airbnb.
Oh yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So yeah, that basically sums up our little 3-day trip.
Oh yeah, but yeah. So speaking of Maryland, let's dive right into our first kind of topic of discussion, and that's the National Guard in Maryland being in dire straits and on the verge of collapse within their own state. Pulling up an article from the Free Press saying that if Congress does not reimburse the costs of it incurred sending troops to protect the Capitol following the January 6th riot, that they will have to shut its doors and stop paying for troops and cease maintaining its equipment. Now, this is possibly in the next upcoming days. This can happen within the next few weeks, even, and that's a little bit scary. It's an armed forces member and group within a state. It's pretty close to us. How long was the drive? 8 hours.
Yeah.
It's pretty scary to see that.
And you're just losing protection.
Yeah, it's more and more just time that, and it's all because of the January 6th riot. The government not paying them back for that. Like, I personally would think, and I told you this the other day, I personally would think that Biden would, want to drive up the cost for this as much as possible just to try to spit on Republicans, try to tell them, like, you guys are costing us all this money, you're doing this and that, and, like, it's a little bit weird to me. I would expect that we would fund them, that we would do the things that we gotta do for people.
Well, yeah. We gotta be able to protect the people. That's part of the government. It's supposed to be the National Guard. It's a part of the government.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The article goes on to say, to date, neither the National Guard nor the Department of Defense writ large has received reimbursement for the deployment of over 25,000 National Guard members to the district for a period of over 4 months. Yeah, that's insane. 4 whole months of payment for these troops that are never getting paid, and I can understand why.
I wouldn't want to do it either.
No, exactly.
If I was getting paid.
Yeah, I can't imagine being in a situation where I'm being forced to hold up certain ideals for free. These are not slaves. These are not people who just have to do what our country says. I get it. They also need money for their equipment. They need money for their items because they just can't afford new equipment, can't afford new items that they'll need. They can't afford uniforms. They won't be able to afford just about anything. Gas for their cars.
Yeah.
This says U.S. spent nearly $500 million to deploy National Guard troops to Washington, D.C. before Biden's inauguration. Yeah, so why can't, if we're already going to be spending all of this money, if we're already going to be funding enough of this BS, then why?
Why after are they not getting any funds?
Mm-hmm. It's just another sense. It could just be another branch of defund the police. It could just be another branch of just, all right, fine, we just won't give you the money that you need to survive. We won't give you the money that you needed because of what you've done. And I think that's a little bit BS. I think it's very disappointing to see somebody doing the service already and then not get paid for it.
Yeah.
To see somebody already protect the people, already deploy to the capital, already deploy to different things, have to do different tasks, and then just proceed to not get paid, not get what they need.
It's like volunteer work where it should be.
Yeah, no, it's not volunteer work, and it's ridiculous. It shouldn't be that way.
Mm-mm.
Um, Gowan goes on to say that if Maryland National Guard is unable to pay its soldiers and airmen on time, it could lead to a dramatic effect of retention. So, that's saying pretty simply that if they don't get their money, keeping all of these troops, keeping all of the National Guard on board will be a
Really hard thing to do.
yes, very difficult.
A lot of people are probably gonna retaliate,
Yeah, and people will just quit. People will find a security job that will actually pay them cash. They'll find, people can find other ways to make their money to earn the things that they need to make. It's ridiculous. Just pay your own people. Repay your troops. It's pay the National Guard. It seems very simple. We're already spending trillions and trillions of dollars on these BS infrastructure packages, the American Rescue Plan. You could put $25 million into the Maryland National Guard to pay their salaries. It's not that difficult of a process. It's not that difficult of a concept, I feel.
No, not at all.
We go on to read that our fiscal systems do not allow for negative budgets to occur, and so reimbursement that comes in August or September is ineffectual, and will most likely have to be returned unused. I can assure you, sending it later is much the same as not sending it at all. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I need the money now.
Yeah.
It means nothing to me 2 months from now.
You can't live off of nothing for a couple months.
No, exactly. It's that's like it's like giving a starving person food after they died. It's like, okay,
No, like, here you go.
how does this really help me? How does this really? I need this money now. I need to stay open now. I need to have the resources to fight off the things that I need to fight off right now. I don't need it in August.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be more to fight then, but it'll just be an influx of cash at that point. It'll just be too much, and it's just it makes no sense. It's just keep it in a system, keep it in a constant flowing money, so that way you can make sure that you're open and doing the things that you need.
Yeah.
The article states that 26,000 National Guard troops from all 50 states were deployed to D.C. following the riot. So that's 26. So 26,000.
Sleeping in parking garages.
Oh, you didn't hear about them sleeping in the parking garages?
No.
Oh yeah, that was a whole big thing. It was like, there were a bunch of memes about how kids were sleeping in cages, but these people were sleeping in parking garages, and how like that's even worse. It was a whole big thing.
It is pretty bad. It's not an actual place to sleep.
Yeah, no. And it was definitely, like, it was deployed by a bunch of Democrats saying, like, you gotta, but I was seeing a bunch of videos when that was happening of certain people talking about how, like, when you're in the military, that's kind of just a thing that you do at times. But I was also seeing certain things that said the opposite, so I'm not 100% sure how to feel about that, how to. I personally, from my own point of view, I'm kind of just like, couldn't have found them any sheets or anything. I think there was one wall outlet in that. There we go. I just pulled up a bunch of pictures. What is
Oh wow. They're sleeping straight up on the floor.
Yeah. No blankets. This is the meme that you post when you say when you stay at your friend's house and they don't give you any blankets.
Yeah.
Jesus, like look at that. They're just huddled around a monument. Just insane. I'll throw some of these these pictures in the podcast so that way you guys can see them as well. But like, look at this. He's just walking right past them like that. This is repulsive, but yeah. This is how the National Guard, how the Army, how anybody in our armed forces pretty much gets treated. Awful.
It's not good.
Yeah, no. National Guard remained for 4 months after the riot due to the fears that followed. Of course, the major fears of the old grandmas walking in on the Capitol. It's so ridiculous. Everybody's Jesus. It was pretty much nonviolent, which is a Democrat talking point, which is all BLM. That's all you heard, that it was nonviolent protests, and it was mostly peaceful.
Well, they did say that like 6 people died.
Okay, but those are. I love how you're bringing that up because no, it's 6 people. The officer that died had a stroke 2 weeks later. It was all, there was one person that died and it was a Trump supporter getting shot in the head.
I don't think it really matters who it is. It's sad.
Is it really that sad? Like, people doing crimes, being insurrectionists, like, if they're doing something that causes them to die, then how sad is it? You're talking about, you pretty much made the statement that it was violent. You pretty much made the statement that,
No, I'm just saying that, like, I feel like it was partially, in a way, yes. If there's people dying.
Okay, again, you're wrong about the numbers of people died, and like no, it's not as you make it out to be. It is what it is. People had to die.
Alright.
But I can understand what you're saying. Like, yeah, but you're off base, kind of. You don't really know. So, moving on to the Capitol, let's talk about some of the Democrats that fled Texas last week, went to the Capitol, and contracted COVID-19. Very funny, very funny. It's very nice to hear of bad things happening to bad people. So I pulled up an article here from the Texas Tribune. It's 6 Texas Democrats in Washington, D.C. have tested positive for COVID-19. Now, these were the same individuals who were telling you that you need to wear masks on planes, you need to wear masks anywhere you go, anything that you're doing, you need to be wearing a mask. Now, I know all of you guys saw the picture on the plane. I have it pulled up right in here of all of the House Democrats getting on the plane, not wearing any masks, not doing anything that's going to help them, that's going to be personally protective equipment. I don't think I saw one mask in the pictures of the Democrats doing what they got to do, flying onto their plane, riding around, doing whatever they want to do. And
Hey, aren't you supposed to wear masks on planes?
yeah, you really are. I think it's pretty hypocritical that they went on these planes and chose not to wear masks. You know, it's kind of funny if you're gonna believe in your own rules. If you're gonna say, you peasants, you have to wear this mask, you have to go on this plane and wear this thing, because you're not smart enough to make your own decision, because you're not smart enough to say, I don't want to wear the mask. It's not going to benefit me as much as the next person says. I'm not at much of a risk. I don't feel the need to wear this mask. It's a little bit hypocritical for you to then go and tell these people that they need to wear this mask, and then for you to go and make your own decision on the mask mandate. For you to get on this plane. I don't care if it's a private charter. You're with a bunch of people. You're with a bunch of your own colleagues. They can all get you sick, and as we've seen, it happened. They're getting sick because they chose to not follow their own rules. They chose to not listen to their own understandings, and they absolutely deserve it. I don't feel bad for them getting COVID at all. Also, I would like to mention the fact that all 6 were fully vaccinated.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. All 6 had been fully vaccinated, had experienced just issues with the fact that they're fully vaccinated, they're getting COVID because they chose not to wear a mask and did whatever else they wanted to do. They were posting all about how, they're sacrificing this and that, doing this. And it's like, we didn't really want you to sacrifice. We don't care. We didn't really want you to do this. Nobody really asked you to leave. In fact, many people asked you to do your goddamn job and vote on the bill that will eventually pass. All right? The whole screaming match about how this voting bill is going to be restrictive, yeah, it's going to restrict people who shouldn't be voting from voting in this election. Everybody has an ID in their house. Everybody has some form of identification.
Yeah.
You need a form of ID to be able to get on.
I mean, if you're a citizen, you should have ID.
Exactly. And another complaint that we're seeing about the voting bill is that Texas is getting rid of 24-hour voting. What the hell? Are you kidding me? You want to know why they put 24-hour voting in? It's so that way when you're drunk as shit at 2 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, I think I want to vote for Biden, you can go and vote for Biden. It's just another way to get young, dumb individuals to vote things that they don't really care about, that they don't really mean. So yeah, I have no problem with people opposing it. With people opposing what these Democrats are doing, opposing the BS of just not doing your own goddamn job. It's ridiculous. All you need to do is vote on the issue. This is the way that party politics is always played. You can't just leave when things don't go your way.
Yeah.
It's absolutely not fair. It's ridiculous.
It's being stubborn.
Yeah. If you won't play fair, we should just arrest you. We should get you out of office. We should put you in a position to where you can't make powerful decisions anymore because it's ridiculous. If you can't just act like a toddler every time that you don't get your way in politics. And at the end of the day, it's a very bad thing to argue for. You're arguing over, we're protecting voters. We're protecting individual voting rights with these rules. Why the hell would we make it 24-hour voting? That seems ridiculous.
I'm just trying to think of reasons.
I'm just saying, it seems ridiculous. You have to vote within time parameters. Why is it racist to say that you need to vote, that you can't vote 24 hours a day? It just seems like a way to get people to cheat the system. It just seems to me like a way that you can corrupt the vote process to have it 24-hour voting.
Yeah, I guess it could, yeah.
You know, because nobody's watching it 24 hours a day nonstop for those months. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's just another way of just getting away. It's just a layer of security that people keep taking away, and it's repulsive to a lot of Republicans. It's repulsive to a lot of people that are trying to have a fair and honest election. And it makes no sense. It makes no sense why you're...
I
What was
did
it?
come up with a reason.
Okay.
What about the people who work late?
Yeah,
They work like that.
they've expanded hours to allow you to vote from normal times, and they are allowing you weekend access on to vote nowadays. They're allowing you for early.
I just wanted to know.
Yeah, no,
how
I get
they
you.
could vote.
Yeah, no, I get you. I'm just trying to inform, but yeah, it's in no way is this restricting the rights of the voter. This is restricting the rights of people who aren't supposed to be voting in our system. This is going to be caught like everybody's got a form of identification in their house. If you're working in this country, you needed a social security card to work.
Yeah.
If you drive, you need a driver's license. When you go on a trip somewhere, you need your
passport.
you need your passport. You need forms of identification. In these states, you can also use bills as forms of identification. And everybody gets bills in America. Where nobody's subject to the nice life of just not having to pay for shit. But it seems very simple. It seems very easy, and it's just why? How is this racist? How is this questionable to say that we want to have clean, fair elections where we know who's coming out on top, is supposed to be coming out on top? We saw Biden saying a couple weeks ago that it's not about who votes, it's about who counts the vote. And that's a little bit scary when you think about the fact that they want to do it in this sense. They want to do away with a lot of safety procedures for our elections. And that's absolutely insane to me. We cannot do another election cycle of what happened in 2020. We can't go through another time when there's this much skepticism over who really won the election, who really did what, and
I
it's...
feel like everybody just questions the government.
Oh, yeah, everybody does, but it's like, why not put in procedures that, can put a little bit more transparency on the government, that can make you feel a little bit more at ease with what they're doing?
Yeah.
I
mean, it would probably make it a lot easier to trust them.
Yeah, it would. It would be very easy to, and that's something that people liked about Trump. Trump was talked way too much. People hated the fact that he had sound bites, but he told you everything that there is to know about this country. He was honest about it, and it's like you miss him. You really, really miss him. A few names that we're seeing who had tested positive for COVID, back to those Democrats. Donna Howard. Donna Howard is a voice that I would really like to talk about, kind of. She's the one, I don't know if did you see Donna Howard's picture of her sacrificing, about her having to wash her clothes in the bathroom?
Sacrificing?
Yeah, let me pull up this. Let's see if I can pull this up. But, yeah, she's just talking about how she's had to sacrifice, but in reality, you didn't need to. You could have just stayed in Texas, done your job, and could have had your maid wash your clothes for you. Also, I was seeing that that there's a common trend amongst women to wash their undergarments in the sink at places?
What?
No? Is that not true?
No.
Women don't wash their
No.
undergarments in sinks at times
No.
if they need to.
No. Why would anybody do that?
Okay.
Like if you, I feel like if I absolutely had to, but like I don't really go into cases where like I absolutely had to, you know?
Here, she tweeted out a picture of her undergarments on a clothesline at her hotel, where she was talking about how she had to do laundry herself and had to put her own stuff up there. And it's just, oh, woe is me. I feel so bad for you, escaping your job, not doing the things that we elected you to do. Maybe not me specifically, but do your job. Do your goddamn job. This is
Well,
the
you
problem.
said we, like, as in we the people.
Yeah, exactly. We the people elected this person in, and I think it's ridiculous that we can't see her do her damn job. We can't see her just accept that she lost. You know, it's...
She lost.
She did. Her issue, her party is not the side that's going to get, you know, this is just, it's not something that people will agree with. It's not something that people are going to be on her side about. And I think it's pretty simple. I think it's pretty obvious. Like, most people who will look at this voting bill will say, no, this is not racist. This is just protecting your rights. Most people will...
But yet, so no voting fraud.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff, you know?
No, we don't want any voting fraud. We don't care which side it is. Like, we don't want fraud. We want to have clean elections because you know what? We hated what happened throughout this election cycle. We hated what happened January 6th. We hated what happened November 3rd. It's ridiculous. You see fraud, you see very questionable things everywhere, and it's you can't run an election like that. You can't win a country that way. You can't. How Biden was supposed to be this unifying president, there's not a single soul that is unified by him. There's not a single soul that's going to say, you won the election fair and square, you feel you're doing a good job now, you were so happy you're in office. Like, I can't see anybody that has questioned the election before, and now the Democrats don't want to give audits, they don't want to check into any of this stuff. It's why we want that transparency. The people have a right to see that these elections are good and fair, and that the right candidate is winning. And it's just scary movement after scary movement. And it's just, you want to see some transparency. You want to see that things are correct, that things are going as they should be.
Yeah, I completely agree.
It's just...
Want everything to be protected, want everything to go smoothly.
Yeah. So, a few other names that we have are... Oh, sorry. The big point that I wanted to get into about Howard, Donna Howard, is that she made a statement the other day about how she believes that there should be a universal mask mandate in Texas.
Oh.
Now, this was after she got COVID.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you see any hypocrisy with that? You see any BS with that? You smell anything fishy?
Fishy? Stop.
You know, it's ridiculous. You only make this rule after you get burned, after you make this dumbass decision.
Get burned.
Yeah.
Get burned.
Yeah. So, two other names that I have here of Democratic lawmakers catching COVID after fleeing Texas is Trey Martinez Fisher, as well as Celia Israel. I don't know enough about them to really speak on who they are, but yeah, they're just, it's shitty leadership with shitty decisions, and then hypocrisy by, like, how are you gonna put in that mask mandate as soon as you get sick? How are you gonna put in that mask mandate as soon as you say, like, no, it's not.
So as you like get it, you're like, oh, maybe
Yeah.
we should.
Yeah, no, and it's pretty much you telling the American people, hey, I made a dumb decision. You guys are all gonna make the same dumb decision that I'm gonna make. So now you gotta all go back to wearing masks. You gotta all go back to doing this and that. Like, no, we didn't make the dumbass decision to get on this plane with a bunch of sick ass people who probably aren't even that clean.
Sick ass people.
Hey, I'm just saying they're Democrats, so don't put them past them. But it's just the sheer BS of it, the sheer stupidity of the Texas Democrats saying that nothing's gonna happen, that this, is their right, this is their freedom, that they should just be able to, like, no. What are you doing?
What are you doing?
You guys absolutely deserve to be sick at this point. You guys chose to leave. You guys chose to go into things that you shouldn't have done, and just, yeah, I have no ill, like, I feel good about this. I'm happy. I'm happy that this happened. Speaking of another thing that is somewhat of a downfall of the United States that I'm kind of happy about, the U.S. women's national soccer team broke their 44 match win streak.
It's crazy. Literally crazy. Because they were so good.
Yeah, and then they lost to Sweden, and all of them had to kneel before the event. They all had to be their social justice warriors instead of soccer players, like the thing that we pay them to be. As crazy as that sounds. And they were absolutely dog shit, okay? Stop focusing on the social justice and just do your goddamn jobs. It's so frustrating to hear this all the time. You see with NBA athletes too. Why is it that the only Olympic teams that are doing bad are the ones that care the most about social justice? Why is it that you see the men's basketball team losing to all these teams that we shouldn't be losing to, and the women's national team in soccer doing the same exact thing? Of course we are. You're too focused on the garbage. You're too focused on bullshit that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Focus on the game.
The game.
That's the point of what we're doing.
Play
Yeah.
ball.
You're supposed to represent this country. You're supposed to represent greatness. You're supposed to represent something that doesn't make people repulsed. Doesn't make people sick. It's absolutely garbage. I just wish that they would get off their knees and do some work.
Yeah, that would annoy me, you know?
Yeah, this is just embarrassing for us. It's just,
Like, I just don't understand how that happens, how you go from, like, the best to, like, the worst so quickly, you know?
yeah, it's just your focuses are on dumbass shit. You're supposed to represent us as a country. You're supposed to make us look good. If you want to talk about your social justice, go ahead, talk about it after the game. But you embarrass us by doing this whole social justice movement, by opposing our national anthem, by opposing our flag, doing all of this garbage, and then you're gonna lose? You're gonna go out and get fucking destroyed 3-0? You, like, shut up.
Because in soccer, like, one goal is, like, a huge...
Yeah.
thing.
From this article, I'll pull up this article here. So, former U.S. soccer Paralympian Seth John ripped the U.S. women's national soccer team after it took a knee before the Olympics opening match against Sweden before getting torched 3-0.
Torched. Does it say torched?
Yeah, it says torched right there.
Torched. That's like... Dan.
Yeah, but the direct quote from him is, "This is such a disingenuous maneuver. Like, it's all about promotion of personal brand or for fame, notoriety, to appease the organization and liberal endorsements and sponsorships, John said. An ousted member of Athletes Council for the United States Federation told Fox and Friends on Thursday. Yeah, it's just do your goddamn job. We are supposed to be represented by these people. We're supposed to have these people be the greatest of our nation. And it's like, you're doing this? This is the stuff that you care about? This is the stuff that we're really focused on? This is the stuff that we're hyper-focused on? It's a waste of our time. It's a waste of our energy. Nobody cares about it. You know, you're not appealing to a bunch of people. You're not... At the end of the day, there's still those 74 million people that voted for the other party. There's still those people that are never going to agree with your bullshit-ass statements. So stop it. Focus on your goddamn game. If you get mad at us for saying focus on kicking your soccer ball, it's like, well, that's because that's what we pay you for.
So that's what you gotta do in the Olympics.
Yeah. If your dentist came over to your house and said, I'm going to fix your lights for you, how are you going to feel about his opinion?
That's what I'm saying. I don't feel like it should be like a big debate, you know? Like with
No. It should really just be telling these athletes, shut the fuck up. Nobody cares about your opinion. You know, LeBron James is going to come out and bitch about all this stuff. He's going to always say all this stuff, and it's like, yeah, you lose. He loses when he starts saying this stuff, when he cares more about this. Like, we pay you to dribble a basketball and put it and get it through the hoop. We do not care about your opinions. You are not educated. He absolutely is not. He's got a high school education. That's all. And now he thinks that he's got any right to say anything. You are a dumb jock, LeBron. You're a dumb jock, Rapinoe. None of you guys know what the fuck you're talking about. None of you guys can speak for anything, so stop it. Stop trying to make all these elaborate schemes and stuff and just do the things that we ask of you. Do the job that you signed up for. You know, you have no place in this environment. If I'd rather have this team. I'm seeing a bunch of memes about how nobody's rooting for this women's soccer team anymore. Nobody wants this women's soccer team to do well because it's like, you don't represent the values that Americans have. You're not representing what we want out of this election or out of the Olympics. You're not representing us as a country. You're representing your ideals and your beliefs, and it's like, that's not who this country is. That's not how everybody in this country feels. It's how a very small woke minority feels about the ways that they're talking about. It's terrible. Let me read more into this article.
Okay.
So, John continued to add, what?
I was just reading this quote. The people are exhausted with hearing the privileged athletes politicizing sport. Politicizing. I don't know.
Yeah. The official quote from Jan was, people are exhausted with hearing these privileged athletes politicizing sport. The one thing that can unify our country and showcase our exceptionalism, which is what the Olympic Games were designed for. Exactly. People are going to look at this guy Jan, like he's crazy for saying these stuff, but it's like, no, this is the point of why the Olympics put out the rule that you can't do BLM stuff at the games. You can't have these flags at the games because it's not a part of the games. It's about showing your country, showing your principles, your values, all of you guys are wannabe butthurt liberals who just care about everybody and are worried about everybody's equality. And it's like, we're not at the point where it's not like Cuba. You don't get shot for not doing the things that you want to do. Things are not the way that people make it out to be, and it is partially because of it's a mental disorder. Like, you believe in absolute falsehoods. You absolutely believe in conspiracies that are not real. He goes on to say that U.S. soccer is not left. It's not just
Radical.
left, but radical left, which makes sense. The wokeness is permeated all throughout their entire organization and it affects the few patriots. Actually, the voices that are discriminated against are conservative. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. If you start spewing about how you believe that people should be held accountable for the problems that they have, that people should be held, to their own standards, to their own principles, you're looked at you like you have a million eyes, like you got 1,000 heads, and it's insane. There were people who, and I'll include the picture in this podcast, but there were people who, there were 3 women who did stand during the soccer.
Oh.
Yeah, let me see if I can pull up the image right here.
I thought they all knelt.
No, you always get a few people who know what they're doing and stand up. Let me see. Yeah, these 3 ladies right here.
Oh.
Yep. But
How do you think they felt?
you got the pink-haired lesbian right in the front.
Stop. You don't know that.
No, we do. She's a pink-haired lesbian. But I'm not making this statement out of nowhere. But yeah, I'm sure that these 3 women, I think that they personally feel like they're doing what they should be. I think that in their heads, they're, standing for the national anthem like they should be. They're looking at their teammates and they're like, you guys are allowed to do whatever protest you want, but I'm not for it, I'm not going to do the same things that you're doing. And I don't really, I feel like there's a bit of a confidence to them. There's a bit of just because you're standing up for what you believe in, just because you're standing up for the things that you should be. That if you really care, if you care about the national anthem, if you care about the flag, if you care about what this country represents, the principles, the values that we get as a country, the benefits that we get, it makes a lot of sense for that.
I agree.
All right, so we'll follow that up with our last topic of discussion today, and that's how Rand Paul had questioned Dr. Fauci on gain of function.
Yeah, we talked about this.
Yeah. About how a few months ago, Dr. Fauci came out and said that we didn't fund gain of function research, and then he's going to come out and put in his own emails that we funded gain of function research, and it's going to be a whole bunch of he says, she says, but
I gotta love that.
yeah, no, I hate Fauci.
Well,
Fauci
being
is
sarcastic.
no, I know.
He said, she said, no proof, no. What?
What were you saying?
Said no proof.
Oh, okay. I thought there was more to that.
No, this is how he say, she say goes. It's like there's no absolute who's right and wrong. It's like I heard this, but I heard this. So
Yeah.
What's correct?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we have the evidence. We have proof from Fauci himself that says he was lying. So, it seems like what he says is what's right. What Rand Paul, one of our favorite people in this country. Yeah, Rand Paul is one of my favorite senators in this country. He's a very smart man. He knows what he's talking about. So I have an article up. It's titled Senator Rand Paul, Fauci not honest about Wuhan lab funding, COVID-19 origins. Yeah, What's new?
Updated 20 hours ago.
Yeah.
That's pretty recent.
Yeah. One about a day ago. About when this will get updated. About when this will get posted. But so it starts off by saying it's a clash against the doctors. U.S. Senator and Dr. Rand Paul spoke with WBKO News about his exchange with Dr. Anthony Fauci on Capitol Hill on Tuesday. The two sparring over the origins of COVID-19, who helped fund research and allegations that Fauci lied to Congress while under oath about gain-of-function research. At one point, Dr. Fauci telling Paul, "You do not know what you're talking about. Quite frankly, I want to say that officially." No. I think that Fauci doesn't like to be questioned. And obviously not. Nobody really likes to have that. Nobody enjoys being on the hot seat. Nobody enjoys having those problems. But
I feel like most higher ups are corrupt.
yeah, at this point in a lot of
You don't really know who to trust, I guess.
well, I mean, you kind of know
Because people
who.
even lie under oath, you know?
Yeah, but you kind of know who not to trust. You kind of can figure out over time what talking heads are making points that just don't make sense, that just kind of are unfair for what you're doing and unfair for what you're trying to say. So he says, Brandon Jarrett spoke with Dr. Paul during a one-on-one interview to ask him what he knows officially.
Okay.
He said, "Well, we presented a significant amount of evidence. We presented research from 2017 from Dr. Shi. She's the bat scientist that's prominent that leads the lab in Wuhan. In her research, she acknowledges that Dr. Fauci and NIH gave her money. Yeah. In fact, she lists the grant number. So there's no question that the NIH was funding her research. The only real debate is over whether or not it was gain of function. But in the research, we presented the evidence that she took two viruses, the genes for the S protein, to two viruses, but bat viruses that she found in a cave, and she melded them or merged or recombined them with the backbone of a virus called the SARS virus, which we've known as the COVID-19 virus.
Okay.
It's the elaboration of the COVID-19 virus. Now, the SARS virus is like the one we're dealing with now. COVID-19 was a virus from 2004 that had 15% mortality. It wasn't very transmissible, but it was much more deadly than what we have. So she's experimenting with a virus that had a 15% mortality. Merging it with two new viruses she found in a cave to create a virus that does not exist in nature. And then she proves that it can infect human cells. So yes.
Oh my gosh.
So yes, by that definition, we are absolutely doing gain-of-function research. And by the proof, by the written records of funding, the National Institute of Health was funding this lab, was funding the gain-of-function research that this Dr. Shi was doing.
Making a virus.
Yes, this is exactly where coronavirus came from. This was made. This was manufactured in a lab, and Fauci's entire argument this entire time has been, it didn't start in a lab. That's what it was in January. That was his opinion on the virus. And then it became, it might have come out of a lab, but we didn't have anything to do with it. We weren't funding the lab. We weren't doing anything. To now, we were funding the lab, but we weren't funding gain-of-function research. We weren't trying to elaborate on the COVID-19 virus anymore.
So it's just very wishy-washy.
No, it's not very wishy-washy. It's just...
No, it's like they don't give you solid answers. That's wishy-washy.
Well, it's more of the more we look into it, the more that we find that he's lying, and then just moving on to the next lie with it. We've gone from there's no testing, no nothing at this place, to there was testing, but we weren't involved, to okay, now we were involved, but we didn't fund this part. Okay, to now we did actually fund this thing, and it's like, Yes, the lie just keeps getting pulled back farther and farther and farther. We just keep seeing more and more proof that you're lying to us, that Fauci is, not doing the things that he says we're doing. That, we knew it. We've known for all this time that this had to be manufactured in a lab. We knew for all this time that it had to be done in this way. And yeah. Why is Dr. Fauci lying on oath? Why is he trying to say this stuff in front of Congress? It's because of his political narratives.
It also says in this quote that the Chinese government or military has been forthcoming about the lab.
Has not been.
Has not. Yeah. My bad.
Yes. About how the Chinese government doesn't want to share about what's going on there, about how they don't really want to talk to you about.
Oh my goodness! Reports that the military is working on weaponizing viruses.
Yeah, that was a whole big narrative that I'm pretty sure I told you about that narrative when the pandemic really.
But when I know we talk about it, but when I read it in writing, it's just like, what?
Yeah, it's exactly what we think it is. We think that because, well, this is really getting into conspiratorial, but, it's about China, so screw it. But
it's very secretive,
Yes, exactly. It's this virus was absolutely leaked from this Wuhan virology lab. First of all, let's talk about the fact that is any country going to put sanctions on China? Is any country going to sit here and tell China that they need to handle their shit and do the things that they were supposed to do?
Yeah.
No, I guess not. I guess we're going to constantly see the, are we going to see China get away with starting this pandemic? I believe it's possible. But, let's get back to the topic at hand. Dr. Fauci hid this up. He was covering up the fact that his departments was funding the
last
Wuhan
thing you wanted to
lab.
fund.
Yeah. No, and he's just trying to cover his ass. He is a political figure. He is somebody who is just trying to protect what he's represented, what he's done throughout his career. And it's sickening because people lost their lives. People lost their grandmothers, lost their family members because Dr. Fauci had to be a dickhead because he had to.
Well, yeah, it's like if you're the main health guy of this whole pandemic, giving everyone advice, should you really be the one that kind of funded the virus?
Yeah, you funded the virus, and then you're gonna lie about the virus every single time you get on the news. You're gonna BS us. You're gonna try and tell us this and that about how this is what it is and this is not what it. It's ridiculous. We are supposed to trust these people and trust these professionals, these medical professionals, these politicians to make good decisions for us, to be open and honest, to be truthful about what they're doing. And it's not happening. It's not opening up the way that we want it to see. We want, honesty. We want to know that our health is in good hands, and I don't think Dr. Fauci is those good hands.
Understandable.
Let's continue reading into the article. So, Dr. Paul continues by saying, he tried to explain a reason why Fauci might have done this, and he says, I think he has self-interest in not being attached to this research because more and more of the evidence is pointing towards the virus having come out of that lab. If it did, you can see how moral responsibility or culpability attaches to Dr. Fauci because he had the poor judgment to fund this lab. So I think it was a mistake to fund the lab in the Wuhan period because I don't think the Chinese government or military has been very forthcoming. Yeah. You don't trust people you can't trust. You don't instill your trust into things that You shouldn't, because then this happens. Then a global pandemic happens, and it should make everybody question the leadership. It should make everybody question who is at the top of the board when it comes to health. Who is at the top of the board when it comes to guns, when it comes to food, when it comes to this and that. Let's look into the people that we have in charge. Let's look into the people that are putting in policy for us, that are putting in, that
Let's
are
look more into the people that are really giving us this medical advice, but do they really know?
Yeah.
I mean, they may know because they're the ones funding it and they know where it came from, but like,
are they telling you the truth? Are they telling you what you need to hear? Or are they telling you what they want you to know? Because
yeah, are they telling you what you want to hear because they want you to just feel comfortable and not question anything they do, you know?
No, exactly. And it's this whole pandemic has created more and more of an understanding that people need to do their own thing. They need to understand the way that things work, and they need to create their own understanding. They need to have that critical thinking, and they need to make decisions for themselves. We're all forced to get the jab. We're all forced to get the vaccine because we
It's
can't.
called the jab.
Yeah. We're all, exactly. We're all forced to do the things that we have to, we're all forced to get the vaccine. We're all forced to do this because
I mean, you aren't forced to do it.
in a lot of ways you are, because of vaccine passports. We were forced to, because we wanted to do the things that we wanted to do.
I mean,
I was forced to, if I want to go to school, if I want to continue my education.
That's kind of forcing you, I guess, in a way.
I need to get my vaccine. At places of work, if you're forced to get a vaccine in order to come back into the workplace, you're forcing people to get a vaccine because they want to return to their jobs. They can't just quit because of a vaccine. You're forcing people, you're putting people into positions where they can't really choose what they want to do. And I think it's wrong. I think it's, I understand that it can help people, that the numbers have gone down, but I think people should still have that right. I think, many pregnant women are being told not to get the vaccine because, they could pass on stuff to their kids. And it's like, yeah, there are certain people that make sense to not get the vaccine.
Actually, you probably cannot get passed down to your kids because the cells that you're working with aren't really your reproductive gametes.
Well, I don't know the specific reason, and that was just kind of my assumption, but I know that they're telling a lot of pregnant women that
a lot of people are just
shouldn't.
really suspicious, and they just say things, and I've really looked into it, and it's just not true.
So, can you tell me about kind of why they're telling pregnant women not to get vaccinated then?
Well, who is telling?
Well, no, it's like a common trend that, like, pregnant women who are pregnant should not get vaccinated.
It's been a thing for years that people are all like, because there have been other vaccines where, like, they're different. And it's been like, oh, it attacks their cells. Because most viruses are usually ones where it's, people like to call it a dead virus that gets put into you. But this is mRNA.
Mm-hmm.
So it really just encodes for different proteins, but not reproductive ones. So it confuses me, and it's been, like, shown that with reproduction, the vaccine has nothing to do with it.
Okay.
But with other things, like, obviously, like everybody's getting, like, the after side effects, like the fever and all of that, like, it can affect other things. But, like, fertility, I've really found is not one of them.
Well, no, I'm not talking about fertility. I'm saying...
No, but I'm saying for both. Like, fertility is the same cells.
Okay.
As reproduction.
Yeah. Let me pull up an article just to check this out. Some vaccines.
Put the tab down. Like, can you get the vaccine?
If you are pregnant, you can receive a COVID-19. There's currently no evidence that any vaccines, including COVID-19 vaccines, cause fertility problems. However, data are limited about the safety of COVID-19 vaccines for people who are pregnant. So yeah, I guess it's just an overabundance of precaution and over.
Which makes sense because you want to like make sure your kid's okay.
Yeah, exactly. You want to make sure that your kid's not coming out with 14 arms and.
Okay, I wouldn't think that would happen.
Well, no, maybe not that specifically, but you don't want your kid coming out unhealthy. You don't want your kid coming out in a position that is going to be unsafe, and that's where misinformation from Dr. Fauci can really screw you over. Very disappointing. I'm very disappointed in Dr. Fauci. Well, that marks the end of this podcast. If you enjoyed, please subscribe, leave a like, and I hope you guys come back for our next week podcast, where we will most likely have another guest. Tune in at 1 o'clock next Friday. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a great night, guys. Bye-bye.
COVID misinformation. On COVID misinformation. What's your message to platforms like Facebook?
They're killing people. I mean, it really. Look, the only pandemic we have is among the unvaccinated, and they're killing people.
Are we